We're talking today with Mr. Harold Schipper of Holland, Michigan. The interviewer is James Smither of Grand Valley State University. Mr. Schipper, can you begin by telling us a little bit about your background, like where you were born and where you grew up?
I've been born in Holland, Michigan, and I worked for freight warehouses. And in fact, I did a lot of work as far as that concerned, with different places.
Mm-hmm.
And then the time come when I was drafted.
Okay. Now, what did your family do? What did your father do?
Father, he was a printer in the print shop
Mm-hmm.
at Dupree Chemical in Holland here.
Mm-hmm. And how many kids were in your family?
There was 8,
Mm-hmm.
4 boys and 4 girls.
Okay. And did you have older brothers?
Yes.
And were they already in the service before you?
Yes, my brother Herm was, yes.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And then, now were you working and so forth before you got drafted?
Before I got drafted, yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Did you finish high school?
No.
Okay. So when did you leave school?
8th grade.
Okay. And why did you leave school after the 8th grade?
Why did I
Yeah.
leave school?
Yeah.
Well, I guess I wanted to work,
Okay.
go to work.
All right. So you're working, and then basically pretty quickly after you turn 18, did you get a draft notice? Was that?
Yes.
All right. About when was that?
Boy. Well, it had
Early,
to be,
early 44?
Yeah, early 44.
All right.
Yes.
And then once you got the draft notice, then where did you go and what did you do?
Well, I went to Fort Sheridan Hotel in Detroit to be examined.
Mm-hmm.
And after we come back, we were able to come back home. And after we came back, then I went back to get sworn in.
Mm-hmm.
And just at that time, they needed 8 Marines.
Mm-hmm.
I was already into the Navy, put into the Navy,
Mhm.
but they needed 8 Marines. So one out of the 8 volunteered, raised his hand to go. And then the officer says, you, go along.
Right. Okay. Let's see. Had you chosen the Navy? Was that your preference, or?
No, they just put me in. Yeah.
Okay. Now, once you're assigned to the Marines, where did they send you?
We went from after basic training, 8 weeks. We were
Where did you do basic training?
at San Diego,
Okay.
California.
And what was that experience like?
Well, very rugged experience.
What did you do?
With my basic training, say to go through like 30-mile hikes and things like that. You absorb blisters on your feet, and one time I had to be taken back by the ambulance because it was so hot out there. And
Because they have you marching around the desert, right?
yes,
Yeah.
it was more or less around the
Okay.
desert, right.
And how did the drill instructors treat you?
I thought they treated real good, yes. I didn't have any problem.
Okay, so they sort of laid out the rules and you followed them and it worked?
It worked, right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so where did you go after basic training then?
Well, then I went home
Mm-hmm.
for a couple of days.
Mm-hmm.
Then I was sent back again, and we went across. We went to the Solomon Islands.
So you only had 8 weeks of training before they shipped you out?
That's right.
All right, I guess they really needed Marines.
I guess they needed them.
Okay. Had you ever been on a big boat before you?
No,
Okay.
never.
So what was that experience like?
Very rugged experience because I couldn't swim
Mhm.
for the first, and I got experience of almost drowning once.
How did that happen?
That was 6 or 8 guys in the neighborhood made a dam, and I was 6 foot deep, and it was over my head. And so they went into that, and then they went down there to go swimming. Well, when I went along with them, of course, I sat on the shoreline,
Mm-hmm.
and I said, I'm good enough here. So that's what happened. And one of them came in and dragged me out, and we went in together.
Wait, so where was this?
This was back here on 4th Street in Holland.
Okay, so that was your first swimming experience.
First
Okay.
swimming.
So you'd had that one. So then being on the boat in the middle of the ocean wasn't such a great idea.
Yeah, and I never got a bit seasick going over because of that, I think. Because I was thinking about it.
Mm-hmm. You're too busy being scared to.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
that can happen. Okay. What kind of weather did you have when you were going over?
Very nice weather.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we zigzagged though. Took us 30 days to get over to the Solomon Islands.
How did you spend all that time?
Well, in and out. I mean, say up and down on the boat.
Okay. What kind of boat were they
It was
sending
a
you on?
transport.
All right.
3,000 men.
Mm-hmm. They would have been packed in pretty tightly then, right?
Yeah, we was. Yeah.
Okay. Now, within your, at this point, are you just a Marine replacement? You don't have a specific assignment or anything yet? You don't know? what kind of
not
duty you have?
until we got in the Solomons. We got
Okay.
our assignments.
All right. Now, on the way over, did you have any scares with Japanese submarines or anything else like that?
No, but we had pontoons set out. I mean, say cables set out from the transports for mines.
Mm-hmm.
You know, when you're 3 miles out of the United States, you're counted as out of your continental United States,
Right.
and so you're in enemy waters right from there on. You see, and they put that out when they knew pretty well where we were just about to the equator, to figure on that. You know, in case there was any mines that would be cut, so that they could blow them out with machine guns on the
Right.
sides. So
Right. Now, did your ship travel in a convoy or was it by itself?
no, all by itself. Yeah, we zigzagged all by ourselves.
Okay. And then where did you land in the Solomons? Guadalcanal or?
No, Ryukyu chain. It was in the Ryukyu chain of Japan.
Well, that's. I thought you said you went to the Solomons first.
Well, Solomons, we were in the Solomon Islands, but that was by Australia.
Right.
And so, then from the Solomons, no, that's why I went. From the Solomons, I went to Okinawa.
Okay. Well, let's get us to the Solomons here first.
Yeah.
Where in the Solomons? Which island were you on? Was it Guadalcanal or, which is where?
No, I was 50 miles from Guadalcanal
Okay.
on an island. Yeah.
All right. And then what was happening on that island at that time when you got there?
Well, there was Marines on and Red Cross and so on.
Okay.
We could go to.
And then you had, did you get assigned to a unit right away when you got there? Or?
Pretty well. Right after we got off, we got on coconut logs in a theater base, so that the officer could name where we were going and regiments where we were going.
Okay.
And so it came to alphabetically order. And when it come down to the S's, of course, or R's, I said I better start listening. So when it got down to my name wasn't read off. And so afterwards, everything was done, and then I went to the officer in charge that was reading them off. And I told him about that, and he said, "What's your name?" And I told him. Oh, he says, "There's 11 guys at the end of the platform here. They're going to the main quartermaster of the division, and you're going to be another one going with them." See, that's why I said to you in the beginning, I asked for that, and they gave me just the opposite, so I had to take the infantry training.
Right.
And when we got over, something happened because I was kicked down a 10-foot or 12-foot pool because I couldn't swim, and the sergeant had me go off, and I got halfway, and he had to come after me, and what he did, he gave me a kick on the head, and down I went. I went like a rock to the bottom. Well, when he got me out, the first thing I heard him say, "You do that again, I'll leave you there to die." And I knew he wouldn't leave me there to die. But see, the scare, that was there, see? And so that was quite a thing, really. And yet, I got taken care of pretty good.
And so you got assigned to the quartermaster's office. So what was that outfit like when you got there? I mean, what kinds of people were there, and what kind of work did you have to do?
Well, I had to take care of supplies, and I had to take care of the officers' mess, our officers with the galley and so on. Yeah, I had quite a job with that.
Okay, well, what do you actually have to do to take care of an officer's mess?
Well, set the table for them, and put the stuff out, paraphernalia out for them, and put the coffee to them, and put the pancakes in the morning for them, and whatever it takes to have a meal.
Okay. Did you get better food than you would have had if you were with the regulars?
Absolutely. Yeah, that's why I said that I got treated a little, real good.
Okay. How long did they have you there in the Solomons before they shipped you out?
Uh, Boy, I don't know how before we were prepared for going to Okinawa.
Mm-hmm.
But see that all that time we were, whether you were on the rifle range or whatever
Mm-hmm.
to go, you had to prepare for it.
Mm-hmm.
And so to say how long between each time, I
Mm-hmm.
don't. It's pretty hard to say.
Right. But do you have a sense it was a matter of weeks or a couple of months or?
Oh, I'd say within months. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Now, now you're assigned to the First Marine Division, right?
Yes.
Okay. And were they already there and back from Peleliu when you got there?
They come back. We waited for them to come back from Peleliu and
Okay,
seen them come off the ship.
All right.
And a lot of them were hit.
Mhm.
A lot of them had their, like these
Bandages, yeah.
bandages on their heads and had some legs off and arms off. And so that was quite a ordeal.
Mm-hmm. Did you get much of a chance to talk to any of the guys who'd been on Peleliu?
Not really. No, not too much.
Okay. So when you were there, was it just kind of a divisional cadre there, or some of the rear area units that were there that you
Yeah.
joined?
I would say that, yeah.
All right. Now, on the island you were on, did you see anything of the native population or anything?
Yes, we had workings with the natives.
Mm-hmm.
They'd come out and do things for us and get us certain stones out of the coral and
Mhm.
things like that, and cat eyes and things like that for us. And then we would either give them cigarettes. I was smoking at that
Mhm.
time, so we'd give them cigarettes, and they were so joyful for it, you know. So, yeah, that's the way that went.
All right. And now, what did they tell you at the point when you're shipping out for Okinawa? Did you have any sense of where you were going or what was going to happen?
No, we had no idea, and I think that's the main purpose for that, you know, they held us back from us. But we had no idea we were going to Okinawa.
Did you have any guesses about where you might be going when you loaded up?
No, had no inkling whatsoever.
Mm-hmm. And what do you remember about the trip up there? Because it's a pretty long haul from the Solomons up to Okinawa.
Yeah, well, I don't know about that. I mean, say we had good weather. We
Mhm.
had very good weather, and always up to an large convoy. By the
Mhm.
way, in fact, it was the largest outside of the Philippines with
Mhm.
MacArthur,
Right.
and so we could see how rough things could get too. You know, in the water, and you could be sometimes 30 feet down, you know, and you could see only half of the convoy or half of the ships at a certain time. So you're doing that too.
Mm-hmm.
And like the ocean, at times you look and you can just about tell how deep
Mm-hmm.
the depth of the ocean by the color of the
Mhm.
ocean. And so that's how I at least could tell.
Mm-hmm.
And we knew that we were in deep water,
Mm-hmm.
and we knew too that we were going someplace that had to be,
Mm-hmm.
and it was rugged. It was a rugged deal.
Mm-hmm.
I have to say that, and yet I'm in supplies. You know,
Mhm.
I'm not up to the lines. I was
Right.
only up to the lines one day
Mm-hmm.
because we had to bring supplies
Mm-hmm.
up there for the men.
Mm-hmm.
And as far as that concerned, the only hardness that I had with that is when Japs filtrated back through the
Mhm.
lines there to get supplies
Right.
like bread and stuff like that that they needed, you know. And you're on guard duty, so you had to shoot too if you had to.
Mhm.
You had to give the password, and if the password wasn't given back, then you had to let them have it.
Mm-hmm.
And you didn't like to, but that's the idea, either him or I,
That's right.
and that's the way it was. That was war.
And we're getting a little bit ahead of ourselves there in terms of
Okay.
the story. So let's get back. So you're on the ships. You're with the fleet. You see all these ships around you. Did you see big warships, carriers, battleships, or mostly just transports and smaller ones?
No, I seen battleships, I seen destroyers, and especially one time there that, in fact, I got a book. The government sent me a book
Mhm.
back of telling me the whole business
Mm-hmm.
and what we did.
Right. Now, what kind of ship were you on? Just another regular
Just a
transport?
regular transport ship.
Okay. Who was on the ship with you? Was it just sort of headquarters units or supply units, or were
Just
you?
supply, yeah, the guys that were on for supplies.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, when you get to Okinawa, were you in a position to see much of the landing or what was going on once you got to the island?
When we got to the island, it is before the coral reef, so that these Higgin boats would drop off, so that the men out.
Yep.
I seen in morning and 4 o'clock in the morning, Jap 2-engine bomber come close on water and was blown out by our destroyers. The destroyers came in to our passageway through
Right.
our convoy and blew them out. Yeah.
Did you see ships get hit by Japanese bombers at that point, or?
No, not then.
All
I
right.
did later on when the Japs came in and suicide bombers came in for our supplies and ships. Yeah.
Okay. So you're going in there. About how long was it after the beginning of the landing when you landed?
I went in D+3.
Okay. And when you landed, were you able to sort of sail in your transport, or did they still have to put you in small boats? And
We had to get out in these
nets? Or?
nets off the side of our transport to be brought in with Higgins boats.
So you get your landing on
Right.
the beach there too.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, what did you do once you landed?
Well, there was a big seawall that they had built, and they had gun emplacements be put in there. Machine gun placements were put in there, and they were all cut out. And well, we had to get in. I don't know how in the world it was again that we got in there, but they had a seawall that we thought that we had an idea that the Japs were right behind it, that they were going to blow us out like they did in Tarawa. The Tarawa, they had like the cotton barbed wire, had strands of barbed wire in there.
Right.
We heard about that, and so we thought maybe that would be the case, you know. But they weren't. They were back in the hills. And
Right. So you could see, and it looked kind of like an imposing place when you got there. Now, as in the supply unit, then, what were you involved in unloading supplies or building depots, or what were you doing?
Well, to take care of supplies, yeah, the supplies that came in, we took care of. Yeah, criminal tents and things like that that had to be put out as soon as we got word that we could get them out.
Okay. To what extent was there kind of a regular routine or sort of business as usual for you? I mean, did you do kind of the same stuff from day to day while you're there?
More or less the same stuff.
So describe what a day might be like for you there.
Well, you'd get up in the morning and you got your orders to go and do get things out, and you may have to make a bridge or something over water or so, and that's what we.
And that was something your unit would take part in?
Yes.
Okay, so there weren't just separate engineers doing that or whatever you had to work with?
No, that would be just for us to do, yeah.
Okay. Did you have any experience in that sort of thing, or any
Not
idea?
really. That's a learning experience.
Were you being directed by CBs or people who
No,
knew what they were doing?
no, just by our officers, that's all.
Okay. The officers that you had, were they young guys like you, or
No,
did
they
they
were
seem to be
older.
maybe older or reservist or something?
They were older. Man.
Did you have a sense that they'd been with the Corps for a long time? Or?
Yes, I did.
Okay. So, and maybe were some of the men maybe that went all the way back to Guadalcanal and Tarawa?
Yeah, I would think so.
Okay. Now, you'd mentioned that there were problems with Japanese infiltrators and so forth coming through the lines. Do you remember anything in particular about when that kind of thing happened?
Well, as I had to stand guard too, 4-hour watch and things like that, and this happened to be one night that another guy had to have some more ammunition, so he come to me and asked me how many clips of ammunition I had. And I told him I had 5. Well, he said, how about giving me a couple of clips? I said, sure, go ahead, take them. Well, while he was out there, It was a moonlight night,
Mm-hmm.
and he spotted somebody, and he'd give the password,
Mm-hmm.
and he got no answer, but he still didn't dare. He didn't dare to do anything, so
Mm-hmm.
he come back. He left his post, and
Mm-hmm.
that wasn't good, because the captain and lieutenant he had to get a hold of,
Mm-hmm.
and there was one that got into a tile roof shack that they had there. We were in a schoolhouse, an old schoolhouse, and got into a tile roof shack, and so the officers were, the lieutenant and captain went with him,
Mm-hmm.
and lieutenant, well, they had just boards on the floor
Mm-hmm.
of that wood, and they'd take a board loose, and they would go. People that were in there would go. You see,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
and the lieutenant, he slipped and he went in
Mm-hmm.
up to here,
Yeah.
to his belt. Well, turned out to be it was Lieutenant Quint, and he told me, being orderly, he says, get rid of that pants, because he was going to have a colonel coming
Mm-hmm.
to inspect.
Mm-hmm.
Well, he certainly wouldn't want the pants to be hanging over the line with his
Right.
name written on the back.
Mm-hmm.
So I was supposed to get rid of it in a 10-quart pail,
Mm-hmm.
and I forgot. And there the colonel was, and it went over the line,
Mm-hmm.
so that you could see it was Lieutenant Quint.
Mm-hmm.
Well, he got it, but then I got it too,
Mhm.
because it comes right down.
Right.
See. But them were things that happened. I mean, you know. So you didn't do it, so you had to take consequences.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Was there sort of more than one occasion when you had to deal with Japanese coming through the lines, or did you see any yourself?
No,
Okay.
no. Except there were they shot
Mm-hmm.
45. There was 45 on a pile that I had seen there
Mm-hmm.
one morning,
Okay.
and so it was
so where would those have come from? Were those infiltrators or?
infiltrators
Okay.
back through. See, they must have got through our guys and
Mm-hmm.
and worked back to get food. You know,
Mm-hmm.
so that's what happened.
Okay. Now, did you ever make it up to the front lines?
I made it up once to
Okay.
the front line.
And you described that.
We were going with a jeep and brought supplies.
Mm-hmm.
We were bringing supplies, and we had others with us, of course, and on other trucks.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what happened. We did our job of bringing it and
Mm-hmm.
got back.
Now, at that point, were the Japanese doing much in the way of artillery fire or anything else like that?
No.
Or was it mostly just us doing the attacking?
Yeah, more or less us with attacking. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, where was your base located relative to the harbor or the front lines?
I don't think we were in too far from shore,
Mm-hmm.
and I think we based there.
Did you go back to the harbor much, or did people just bring stuff out to you from there?
No, they brought stuff in for us, yeah, and we would stack it up or so, and like commissary business and food
Okay.
stuff.
Now, kind of how large a group of men were you working with? I mean, if there's a particular, within your unit, about how many of you were there?
Well, I we're in certain sections, you know, so
Right.
I would say maybe 20 guys.
Mm-hmm. And did you have pretty much the same group with you the whole time when you were there?
Yes,
Okay.
each section had stayed its point.
Did you get to know these guys much at all, or learn where they were from, or anything else like that?
Not really,
Mm-hmm.
no.
You'd mentioned earlier there weren't Japanese air attacks or things like that when you were first landing, but you said you saw some of that kind of thing later on, with air attacks or attacks on ships or that kind of thing.
That this is in the first beginning.
Mm-hmm.
That's when I seen it.
Okay.
We didn't get off yet. You know, we were still on. We'd go out at night. See, back out.
Mm-hmm.
The convoy would. Yeah.
And well, what did you see then? I mean, what you said you saw Japanese attacks or whatever. Did you see more aircraft coming in, or?
No, that was just once that I seen
Okay.
this two-engine
That one bomber. Okay.
bomber.
Okay.
Yeah, two-engine bomber.
All right. Now, what were you able to do while you were off duty when you were on Okinawa? I mean, you just sort of hang around your camp and
Yeah, more or less hang around the camp.
I don't know. And then, but did the military or whoever do anything to provide any kind of entertainment or whatever? Did they have USO going through there or that kind of thing?
I think the USO was there. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm pretty sure that was there. Yeah.
Okay. How much information did you have about what was actually happening in the battle?
We didn't get much. We didn't get much. Although I know of the fact that we did hear at certain times that grave registration had much equipment with them, like for protection on them. This about maybe a knife on the side, but bringing the dead and wounded back. Yeah, and there were certain times, I guess, that they threw smoke things in order to have them come back in safety.
Now, did you see much of that? I mean, did you see the casualties coming back or
No,
anything like that?
I wasn't up far enough to see it. No.
Okay. So how long then were you kind of camped there in Okinawa?
Well, I was up until the time came that they said it was. I mean, when we we were on the water when VJ was declared.
Okay.
See, we know EJ was
E-Day already happened,
was taken care of, and so we were hoping for that to hear. Oh, we were on one, going to China.
Yeah. Did you hear anything? Do you remember hearing about the dropping of the atomic bomb?
Yes, I was on an outhouse, sitting on an outhouse when that was on rendezvous with 150 B-24s with a B-29 in the center. And they rendezvoused the island, and I tell you, while I was sitting on that outhouse, you could feel the ground shake with the amount of, I watched both from Nagasaki and Hiroshima. Yeah.
Okay, and then once the war, now how were they were, you said when the war itself ended, you were already on ships, so they had just loaded you up to move out?
That's right.
And
we were loaded up, and by the way, we had a, what do they call them, small, that ships were brought on shore, typhoon. We had a small typhoon that hit while we were loading up, and there was ships put on shore that we seen.
now, were you on a ship at the point when the typhoon hit, or were you still on shore?
No, we were on the ship then. I think by that time, yeah.
And was it the same kind of ship you'd been on when you came out? Another transport or something different?
Yeah, it was another transport. Yeah.
Okay.
With 3,000 of us.
And where were they sending you? Initially, was it going to be to Japan, as far as you knew?
Well, we were scheduled. Yeah, we were scheduled to go to Japan. But then they said, no, you can't do that. So they put us to China. And then they said, if there was ever a shot fired, because there's communism, if there's ever a shot fired, well, then that would mean that there was a blitz. And there was plenty of shots fired.
Okay. Let's see. Now, where did you go in China? Where do they have you land?
Tientsin, China.
Okay. And then, what was your mission or your assignment at that point?
Well, to be there about 6 months, figured.
Okay. Why were they there? I mean,
Just, I have no idea why they really sent us there.
And so what did you do while you were there?
Go out in liberty and that's about it, I guess.
Okay, so you didn't really have a whole lot of an idea why you were there or what else was going on?
No idea.
What sort of place was Tientsin at that point? Kind of.
Well, very, very dirty place.
Mm-hmm.
Would be like a small snow on the ground that you can make a footprint
Mm-hmm.
of dust,
Mm-hmm.
and very poor
Mm-hmm.
people. And well, they were seeing the other too, the ones that were more
Mm-hmm.
well-to-do. But I mean, we found it very, very poor on them. In fact, when we would go out on Liberty,
Mm-hmm.
we would throw our yen
Mm-hmm.
out of the window so that the rickshaw drivers could
Mm-hmm.
get them. You know, it would be more to them than it would be to us.
You said throw the yen. So I mean, you had Japanese money at that point.
Yes, we had Japanese money, and it was a big inflation,
Mm-hmm.
terrible inflation.
Yeah.
In fact, I bought a pair of shoes for $7,000,
Mm-hmm.
and it was $3 in our money.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that's. But then you're so dusty that you had to be in about noon if you went out in Liberty in the morning
Mm-hmm.
and change clothes on account of it.
All right. Now, how did you feel when you found out they were finally shipping you back out again?
What do you mean?
Well,
When we were going home?
yeah. When you found out you were going home, what was your reaction?
Very nice, because I went by point system,
Mm-hmm.
31 points,
Mm-hmm.
and I was eligible. And so when the time came, they didn't have a ship. They
Mhm.
said to put us home, bring us back. So they put us on a ski runner, a garbage cow.
Mm-hmm.
It had 16 barrels of garbage on the back fantail,
Mm-hmm.
and you'd feed the sharks and the stuff as you go along. And we were only going 5 miles, 5 miles an hour. So because 2 boilers broke out
Mm-hmm.
and burned out, and we had to go to Hawaii,
Mm-hmm.
to stop at Hawaii, which was 1,000 miles. They claim, I guess it was at that time.
Well.
And so we were only going 5 knots. Well,
Mhm.
that's when my buddy, because it was so hot in the hole,
Mm-hmm.
he says, I got a can of mixed nuts, he says, and I got a hammock strung up in there. It was a garbage cow, and the guns were off already, the turrets.
Mm-hmm.
So he had a hammock strung up in the top, which it caused about 15 flights up
Yep.
to get there. Somebody cut the rope, and down we went
Mm-hmm.
on those hard steel steps,
Wow.
on those turrets. So I ruined my back
Mm-hmm.
on account of it. So, but here I am.
Yeah. So you got a service-related injury,
Yeah.
just not the fault of the Japanese.
No, not the fault of the Japanese. This was service. Yeah.
Okay. So about how long did it take you to get to Hawaii? Do you figure then?
Boy, I thought 3 days, 3 or 4 days maybe, or wasn't it?
Well, not at 5 knots, it wouldn't have been.
No, not at 5 knots. No. It's hard to say.
Or was that just for part of the trip once the boilers went out? You didn't have the whole trip like that?
No, we got them fixed in Hawaii.
Okay.
See? But then I was on boards
Mhm.
with a heat lamp.
Mm-hmm.
See, and I couldn't get off for the 5 days that they were going to have off to have those boilers fixed.
Okay, because you had your back problem, and
Yeah.
so they
Yeah.
had to do that.
Yeah.
All right. So they get the ship back together. They send you back to the States. Where did you land when you got to the States?
We went back into San Diego
Okay.
and had 6 tugboats
Mm-hmm.
pushing us in on the backwards.
Now, from there, did they discharge you in San Diego, or did they send you out someplace
No,
else?
they sent me to Great Lakes for discharge.
All right. So you finally get back there and so forth. You come back to Holland then directly after
Not
that?
directly.
Okay.
I was stayed by my brother in South Holland,
Mm-hmm.
and his wife sent me a letter in China while I was in China saying, "Don't go home when you get back to the States." He says, or she says, "Come to us first." So I stayed 3 days there in Illinois.
Okay. And then once you do get back up to Holland, then what did you do?
Was so glad to be back here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and then in time it got to a normal situation again.
Okay. What kind of work did you go into?
I was in a freight warehouse where I took care of unloading boxcars of freight and merchandise that truckers would come in and pick up, and then I'd have to go, and if there's any damage to survey the damage and so on. And I worked, I went out from Holland Furnace Company, and then they sent me a registered letter when I got back to come back there yet, you know, but I didn't. So, yeah. So I had a lot of places for work that I run into.
Okay. How do you think your time in the service wound up affecting you? Did it change the way you look at the world or view things, or did you have to grow up some in the process, or what?
No, it was discipline. I knew discipline when I went in. I got a good bringing, had a good bringing up, and yet when I look at it now and to know what the situation of the Marines, I was well taken care of and well in discipline on that basis. Yeah, whenever you did things that wasn't right, well, you got disciplined to that matter, and you took it. And so even to the point where there was once that I refused theater going, and two of us did that. And when we got back, why, we had to take the consequences of going there with a 10-quart pail and pick up cigarette butts and cigarette packages with a needle and thread and have it about like that, so that before you'd empty it in the 10-quart pail to fill it up, you had to have it about that strength. And then another time was when I didn't have anything to bring out for wash, and when we got back, and there was about 3 or 4 of us, I guess, that was back late, and then it comes down, you know, in the first beginning, see, and then it comes down, come to the duty hut, you know, see, so you had to take that too, and so I didn't have filling spuds or anything like that, but so, but that was discipline.
Okay. Are there any other kind of incidents or things that kind of stick in your mind here that you have left out of the story so far? Things you think back to your time there and what you were doing. Are there any other particular memories or things that kind of stick with you?
Not really. Not really, except for the time when when I told you I was kicked down in that 10-foot pool in the beginning, you know, and you just wonder why that they do that when they know that you touched and you told them that you can't swim and you bucked the water and you're not doing it right, you know. So that's a sergeant for you, and he has all the right to do things, I guess, and you just knew to keep your mouth shut and not get your foot in it. So
Which
that's
can be a good lesson to learn.
lesson to learn.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, thank you very much for talking to me today.
Thank you, sir.
All right.
Yeah. Yes, sir. Yeah, this has been good. I appreciate it.